Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next super stock live stream. And I think we just, Yona, are you there? I think we just lost you.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, I lost the camera. I think your camera looks like the camera clicked off. Oh, there we go. Okay, we got a different camera.
Oh, is this better?
I think okay, this is the camera on your computer, right?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah, it just switched off right as the thing went on. Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next super stock live stream, July 28th. We are back with Hapbee, HAPBF over the counter, HAPB on the TSX venture. Again, for anybody that's new, our goal is to bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. So these are companies going after multi-billion-dollar market opportunities. They're at a key inflection point, and there are multiple catalysts in place which can ignite that shareholder value. We've had already 8-9 of these stocks that have been increased between 10x and 50x in the past 12-18 months. And now it's time for Hapbee to join that pantheon of greats. So we're going to find out today if Hapbee has what it takes. And of course, please ask your questions, because it's your questions that really make these events special. And decide for yourself if Hapbee is going to be that next 10 bagger or 100 bagger. So with that said, Yona, welcome back.
Thank you, Jack. Nice to be here.
So this is actually your first time alone. You just joined the company, what was it, 6 weeks ago, I think, right?
6 weeks ago, took over from a remarkable entrepreneur and founder, Scott Donnell, and transition's gone incredibly well.
So yeah, last time we had you and Scott together, and I think it would be good now that you're basically you're getting into the flow of things. I want to have you kind of talk a little bit about what's happening. What's your vision for the company? Because look, I think we've been talking about. I think one of the most compelling things I find about the business is, besides the technology, which I want you to explain in your own words, but there's a real clear path to this being a unicorn, $1 billion valuation stock, very clear path, and the company is actually making pretty steady progress on that. So we're going to talk about that also. You'll explain exactly that path. So with that said, first I want you to, in your own words, give us a snapshot for anybody that's new. What is Hapbee? What is this company all about? What are you doing that's unique?
Well, thank you for giving us the platform and the opportunity to tell the story. But I think one of the things that attracted me to this company and to the industry more broadly, which is kind of wearable biotech, is society's changing. It's changing every single day. We see it in the news all the time. The most recent, probably relevant piece of news is what's going on at the Tokyo Olympics, where the intersection between healthcare and mental health are so intertwined, and there's so much investment that's going against therapy and alternative new types of therapies, because it's clear that the old-fashioned stuff is just not working. Dependence on things that you put into your body and all the secondary impacts of that. People are much more thoughtful about how they pursue wellness. And wellness is a massive and growing category. It's caught the attention of all of the major tech platforms, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, Google. They've all got major investments in wearables and health tech. The way everybody's kind of thinking about it is the body is the new frontier. It's the new home. It's what Ecobee and Nest were 5 years ago, where all of these tech companies were looking to find a threshold in the home and become the operating central, if you will, the central nervous system for the home. Now it's the body, and what we have is we've got technology that for the first time ever is you're able to control how you feel. And I know it sounds Star Trek, and I know it sounds a little out there, but if I would have told you 5 years ago that you could take a phone and charge it wirelessly, you would have said, then no, that's not possible. You need to plug it in, right? If I would have told you 10 years ago that you'd put AirPods in your ears and you could listen to music, and you didn't have a cassette tape or a disc, you would have said that that's not possible. But I think like the common understanding that we're starting to develop and that consumers are starting to get really comfortable with is, most of the things that we're familiar with, most of the things that we believe are tactile, are actually waves. I'm not going to go back to my high school physics, but Einstein figured this out in the 1920s. It's all about waves. And what this company discovered, and what got me so excited about, and people a lot smarter than me, I asked about this before getting involved, was that when your body, your mind, your muscles, anything that's physical, anything that has a bioreceptor attached to it, whenever a compound is present, in most cases, the reaction is actually at the wavelength. If you believe it or not, when caffeine makes its presence known to your body and it wakes you up, that's actually a relationship between waves. It's not like a mechanical thing where something locks in and wakes you up. It's waves. It's your body listening, if you will, to a digital song. The same thing is true for things like THC and melatonin and CBD. So, you don't need to ingest those things. I was on a call this morning, Jack, with somebody who does finance work for us, for the company. And she said to me, my doctor told me that I can't drink caffeine anymore. I can't. He doesn't want me drinking coffee or Red Bull or any kind of stimulation, because the negative effects, the side effects are really bad. She says, so I got a Hapbee, and I play the alert and the boost signals, and I get the same impact without any of the negative side effects. If you think about that, just think about that for a second. You can fall asleep without taking the sleeping pill. You can relax without having cannabis. You can wake up.
This is
All of
the
these
thing that I
all
love
of
about
this
what you're
is
doing.
digital, right?
Yeah,
That's an amazing frontier, and we're the only ones who have this technology, and we're on the verge. I mean, we've spent the last 2 years kind of building the platform. We're on the verge of releasing this broadly to the public. We've done a ton of testing, both in terms of user feedback and safety, and we're like on the precipice of kind of really delivering the kind of the growth part of this business, because we had to make sure that everything was ready. But I know it was a long answer, but that's basically what we do. We deliver all of these stimulants.
Basically, feelings on demand. I mean, it's technology that basically creates feelings, delivers a state on demand.
Think
What's amazing,
Spotify or Apple Music, but we're not playing music.
it
We're
creates, it
playing
creates,
moods.
it creates the mood, the feeling. I
That
mean,
is exactly correct, and your body reacts in exactly the same way.
And the amazing thing about this is when I first heard about this technology, when I first talked to Scott, the founder, I was like, wow, this is like the holy grail, because everything in the world, the whole consumer culture, the whole human being revolves around feelings. Hey, I want to go somewhere to get a mood, to get into I'm going to drink this to feel relaxed. I'm going to go on vacation so I can feel better, or whatever it is, and you mentioned earlier, like, look at this, and right now, look, besides, good feelings, etc., people, they want to be able to control their states. You mentioned a great example, Olympics. I mean, what's happening with this athlete, what is it, the girl, the gymnast,
Simone Biles, yeah.
because she said, I was mentally, basically she's in I guess a bad mood. Some of the pressure, mental, I don't know what it is, but imagine if she had a device.
It's prevalent with what's happened through COVID and people being basically isolated and locked up. A lot of people are feeling anxiety, and depression and loneliness, and the notion, and there's been an explosion in both online and face-to-face therapy and therapeutics. The opportunity to kind of self-regulate. It's funny. We announced about a week ago that we passed through a very important milestone for us as a company, 1 million hours of use. We've only
that was a press release. A million hours. Okay.
And if you think about where we are as a company, we're still kind of at the testing stage. Getting the formula right.
You only launched really when? Like
last October, right? So
yeah.
that's a lot of people using it a lot. What it said to us was we learned a bunch of things from that day.
What's the takeaway? Yeah, what's the data?
First thing I have to say is we don't look at individual customers. And so that is kind of in a black box where nobody can really look at individual customers. But on an aggregated basis, we learned a lot of things. The first thing we learned is that our customers use it as part of their whole daily routine. Close to 2/3 use it for sleep. Sleep is a big issue. It's a big it's a big malaise for a lot of consumers, and they use a lot of therapies. We believe Hapbee is a component to kind of a therapeutic regimen. I don't know that it's the end all be all, but I've heard from a lot of people who have issues with sleep, but also people who need sleep as part of their routine, like athletes who need a power nap in the afternoon, who need to train and then fall asleep. Anybody who's kind of done any kind of training know that's the hardest time to fall asleep. Your endorphins are kind of going crazy. You've done a full routine. You've done a full workout. Then you need to nap, for recovery before an event. That's the hardest thing in the world to do. What a lot of athletes unfortunately revert to is taking like sleeping pills and sleep medication to kind of help them affect that. All they have to do is use a Hapbee, and we've gotten so many inbounds from consumers about that. But that was the biggest key learning for us was that this is a lot of people are using this as a sleep aid to help them get relaxed and then fall asleep and then have deeper sleep.
Here's my question though: who is what's the kind of I don't know if the word is not demographic. What's this, maybe psychographic? What's the profile of your user? Is it like the person who's like the biohacker, the more like cutting edge person, or is it like a soccer mom? I mean, is it like people who are really into optimizing
great
whole
question.
health and everything? Or
the early adopters were folks who were biohackers, but that audience is expanding, and it's expanding rapidly. You only need one or two people kind of in your friend group who says to somebody, I use this and it's changed my life. And then all of a sudden it becomes a go-to.
It's like CBD. I remember hearing like old people and old guys like, "Hey, have you tried CBD?" I remember hearing this, and they're like, "I never heard of it." And it's like all of a sudden,
we have a bunch of
talking about it.
So it's funny. There's a group of people, I would say, 50 and older, who use it primarily for sleep. There's another group of people, kind of 18 to 25, who use it for boost. So they're either hitting the books and they don't want to be popping Red Bull all the time, or we have a group of oddly enough e-gamers who use it to get wired in as they're playing their games.
Focus.
So the interesting thing for me about this product and what we found from the data is that there are these distinct pockets of users. And so if you're thinking as a marketer for a second, you say to yourself, this product has very specific uses and can get targeted to very specific demographics. The business person who needs to kind of grind through a bunch of emails in the afternoon, the executive that really needs to fall asleep on that flight from Newark to London, or somebody who's maybe getting on in age and has problems falling asleep or relaxing. So you can really tailor the product based on how you're going to use it to very specific needs, and that's kind of the way this thing is starting to evolve, where it's a product that has broad uses, and I think those parts of our consumers are going to, almost self-identify as they have in the data. There's a group of people who use it for sleep. There's a group of people who use it for focus and alertness. There's a group of people who use it for physical recovery after exercise.
Yeah. So, by the way, we're going to jump into some questions in a few minutes. But the main thing is the original device. It's kind of like a necklace almost. I don't know if you have one.
Yeah, I've got one right here. Okay. So this is kind of
so basically that's the original device, right?
Yep.
But you're developing new other form factors.
Yeah,
right?
that's really
going to be the big idea is.
It's super exciting. Look, this is basically, think of this as a delivery mechanism. That's all, right? And it's the first one that we developed, and it's amazing, and it works really, really well. But it's probably, here's the ironic thing. It's great for wearing on your head, or you can wear it as a necklace around your neck, and it'll give you the effects that you're looking for. But if you think about what we've discovered to be primary use today, over 60% of our people using for sleep, I don't think anybody would suggest that this is the ideal form factor for sleep. So we're actively working.
No, we have a couple of people on our Discord channel. We have some Wall Street Reporter subscribers who said they basically use it. They put it under their pillow.
Yep.
And we have. These are not. This is real users.
The interesting thing is what we're working on is a soft form factor. It's in the lab. It looks amazing. Basically, it's a woven fabric. And so the next evolution of the product, we'll continue to evolve the headband. But the next evolution of the product could be a pillowcase. It can be a sleep mask. It can be a mattress topper with multiple zones. You could choose one effect for your head, a more relaxing thing for your body or pain recovery. You could think of an elastic armband if you've got inflammation or pain. That's where this is going, and that's what makes me really excited, is not only our ability to develop these products ourselves, but the ability to demonstrate that to third parties who are already manufacturing headsets and eye masks and sleepwear, for us to deliver this capability directly as an added benefit into their products. So that opens up, the ability to license not only the signals, right, and the blends, but also the delivery mechanism as a kind of licensed basis. So yes, we'll be in the product manufacturing business, but I think longer term, bigger picture, we'll be in the licensing business and partner with large brands.
And that's where you can have the massive scale. And of course, we haven't 100%. Even talked about the business model, which is the SaaS.
So, when you think about it, you think about the business model, and we say, the next stop for us is to get to 50,000 members. Members are paying $19 a month to get access to the complete range of signals, and that range of signals continues to evolve and grow. Once we get to 50,000, I think this company is worth somewhere between 500 million and $1 billion.
I would say that makes a lot of sense because, in the space that you're in, let's say the wearables, it's sort of like the intersection of wearable tech and and then you have the SaaS model because it's all recurring subscriptions.
Yep.
And plus then you have the X factor, which is that this is really a one of a kind, unique tech. That's it. There's no, because
there are 45 patents and about $80 million in R&D that kind of protect this. So there's a very deep moat around this technology. And so we're the only ones globally that can bring this to market. It's really interesting when I think about where wearable technology is going and what's the future for this company. And we talked a little bit about licensing, and we talked a little bit about, basically, becoming Dolby or Intel Inside for a whole range of products. And that explodes your ability to reach consumers because it's not just on the back of units that you're shipping. But the really exciting thing for me is the partnerships. And, even in the short period of time that I've been here, we get so many inbounds from folks who want to partner with us, because, you know, there's a lot of activity in the wearable space, but the vast majority of wearable products, wearable tech, are readers, right?
Right. It just tells you. It tells you what's happening. It doesn't create it.
They're sensors. They're reading
Right.
your, you know, your sweat glands, or your heart rate, or your activity, or your motion, or your sensors, your rhythms in your body. The question is, what do you do with that data, right? So there's some very effective, you know, kind of self-help, self-guidance apps that kind of inform you of what to do with that. Or, you know, maybe you go see a therapist that helps you through that stuff. Where I believe, and I think this is our vision, and the holy grail, as you pointed out at the beginning, is if you can connect with all of this incoming data, all of this bio data that your body is creating, either through a Halo or a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or an Oura Ring, if you can connect that with a device like this that actually produces the stimulation that you're looking for, and you connect those two things, and then you connect them through an algorithm that is constantly refining what you're getting, that to me is where we want to get to. And I think ultimately that's not $1 billion opportunity. That is, you know, that's the blue sky. And the interesting thing for me is all of those components already exist. There's plenty of biofeedback devices that we can partner with. You plug in through an API to us and into an intelligent algorithm that is reading and optimizing this beautiful loop.
It's a whole virtual cycle feedback.
That to me is, and the beautiful part for us as a company is we occupy a third of that equation, and we're the only ones there. There's a lot of biofeedback and there's a lot of algorithmic horsepower,
but nobody delivers
deliver that piece. And I think that's what makes us so valuable, both as a partner and, you know, ultimately as a standalone entity, or something that gets rolled into somebody who's got a very similar view, who's got the ability to pull all of that together. But I believe very strongly, and that's why I'm here, is that we through our partnerships, and we'll be announcing some really exciting ones later this year, that's what ultimately what we're pursuing. That's our long-term vision.
Yeah. So let's you know, just for anybody that's new, I mean, again, we had you just came on last was it a few weeks ago? Just give us a quick snapshot, like your background, like, because you know you're in the, you know, kind of consumer technologies, marketing. Talk a little bit about, you know, your background, and I want to get kind of, you know, your vision for, you know, where you see Hapbee. What's your vision for the company? You know,
I started my career way back when in the direct-to-consumer cosmetics business. So I was with Avon Products at the early stages of my career, and I started their direct-to-consumer business both in Canada and in the United States, and started their e-commerce business. And then I started direct-to-consumer and database marketing at Saks Fifth Avenue. And then I was the founding chief marketing officer of what was at the time the second largest wireless brand in Canada, called Fido. So I was part of the launch team for that. And then I've been a tech entrepreneur for the last 20 years, as you could tell from my hairline. I started a two-sided marketplace in fashion called Beyond the Rack that grew to about $150 million a year in annual revenue. We did that from a standing start. And most recently, I took the helm of a Chicago-based tech company in the smart cities space. And the parallels are really interesting there. It was a parking app that we turned into the dominant tech platform for urban mobility. And we powered digital parking for most of the large car companies, 11 of the top 14 car companies in the world. Amazon became an investor, and we powered parking within Alexa. We were featured at last year's Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference. We were one of 4 companies featured there. So I have a lot of experience building kind of two-sided consumer and enterprise marketplaces, and I love technologies like this that are just really, really, really unique, and can really change an industry, and that's what attracted me to this opportunity.
So it's interesting that okay, so right now, we've kind of agreed. So the model for the Hapbee is, okay, you sell a device, I think, was it $300 right now? I mean, this
Yeah, in and around.
we're
There's
still in the
a
early
couple of different
stages. Everything
flavors, but about $300. Yeah.
$300. Yeah, I mean, the form factor, everything is going to evolve over the next probably 12 months. But you got the device for 300. But the real money you make from the recurring subscription to get the signals, that's $20 plus a month. And essentially, if you get to, again, we're talking about 50,000 users, the market would value at, 500 million, possibly $1 billion valuation. Again, based on comps, based on what's happening with Oura Ring, other, wearables, devices, etc. Very easy to get there. So my question to you is, and I think you have right now a couple thousand, you have a couple thousand so far.
Yeah, we have a little over 2,000 active users that are on the platform, and that grows every single month. I think we released some data about 3 weeks ago. We were looking at the June data. So June over July, we were up 16%. So that group is growing, and most of it, I have to tell you, is organic. We have not really released what I would consider any kind of significant marketing dollars behind this product yet, because the first step for us was to make sure that A, the product was right, and B, the platform and the infrastructure were scalable, and we're working very diligently on that, and we'll have some really exciting news to share on that over the course of the few coming weeks.
Okay. Yes, I think it's very important for investors to understand that this is really, like, again, the company is basically, it's a year out. It's one, companies essentially just started marketing a year ago. So this is like real ground floor, and this is kind of the stage where the phase where you evolve through different form factors, different models, etc. But essentially, you're kind of getting everything kind of dialed in right now. It might take another, I don't know, 6 months plus before everything is really, you hit that inflection where, okay, this is it. We figured out this is the thing that's working, and this is the model. And also, I think one of the other things is that to keep in mind is there was a constraint on the chip, so you weren't able to get enough device inventory. Now you have inventory, so this is a real ground floor opportunity, and you're already essentially the path is already very clear. It's very set. You said a couple thousand users. You got to get to 50,000 to get to that billion plus. I think what's important for the market is the velocity, how fast you get to those 50,000. That's what I think the market's going to pay attention to.
I think the inflection point is going to be pretty dramatic. As I said, we haven't really even begun to scratch the surface of any material marketing activity. The vast majority of folks who have discovered Hapbee have either done it on their own or because they heard a podcast, with our founder, speaking to, people who are kind of like on the leading edge of wellness and self-help. So all of the traditional growth channels have yet to be tapped. And we've done some early testing. Kind of the economics are there. I'm very bullish on our ability to deliver on a high growth model. So, and as you pointed out yourself, the blend between a fairly high margin hardware business and an extremely high margin recurring revenue subscription business makes kind of the growth model very, very viable.
Okay, here's a question. Based on your past experiences, kind of because I mean, whether it was consumer marketing, direct marketing, tech, how difficult do you see this path being to get from 2,000 to 50,000? What are what's in the way of you getting? What's in the way of you getting to that 50,000 by next April? Can you get to 50,000?
Well, here's the thing. It's straight math. I mean, if you can acquire customers at a reasonable enough entrance cost, and you can do that profitably, then there's really no limit to the rate at which you grow. Really, the limiting factor is going to be your ability to produce and ship goods. And I believe that's probably, you pointed out the chip stuff. We're pretty bullish, and we've taken an advanced position on ordering kind of our next flight of goods. So we're in pretty good shape on that side. I would say we're in really good shape in terms of understanding the economic model of growth. And then really at the end of the day, it comes down to being able to reach customers and express to them with credibility that you've got the answer to something that they're looking to solve. And I think like we check that box and underscore it quite vigorously. And that's why I'm really excited about this, because if you figured out production and fulfillment and you've got a viable growth model, and your product is going to deliver on deliver the customer benefits that they're looking for, to me, it's really basic blocking and tackling. And I think that's what's in front of us. It's
execution at this point.
We're focusing. It's an execution play at this point. I don't think this is about if, I think it's about when.
Okay, let's jump to a couple of questions. Okay, so Andrew is asking, has anyone tried any of these things, if does it work or not? This is by the way, one of the biggest.
I did. Well, I didn't join the company until I got one of these, and I was convinced it worked. Now, I will tell you that it didn't work for me the first time because I didn't understand what I was supposed to feel. Look, there's a lot of things that we as a company have done great. I would tell you, I would give us maybe passing grades, but not the best grades on onboarding and training customers. And it's one of the first projects that we started to work on, and we've got some really exciting things coming there. But it took me 3 or 4 experiences with the Hapbee first to really kind of dial in my body to feel it. Once that happened for me, I was convinced. Nobody had to look. I read all the scientific papers and I read all the reviews, and I listened in on customer service calls, and I spoke to live customers who are using the product, all before I decided to join the company, because I needed to be convinced myself as a consumer that this was going to work. A lot of that, my personal journey in terms of understanding what the product could do for me, has colored how we're now going to market, and a lot of the changes that we're making in terms of explaining it to customers and stuff. But yeah, it definitely works. There's no question about it.
So I guess because there's been a lot of naysayers saying, oh, it's a scam, or this, there's like this or that. Because again, it's a revolutionary thing, right? And also,
Jack, if it doesn't work for you, I'll tell you, it probably doesn't work for everyone, right? Maybe there's 5% of the population out there who's, for whatever reason, not going to work for them. We will happily give people their money back. If it doesn't work, we have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Our objective here is to provide people with the benefits that they're looking for. If I had to find a parallel, and some of the work that we're doing is, there are 2 companies that I think they're doing excellent work in this particular space. Peloton is one, Noom is another. If you kind of look at the direction that we're taking as a company, you kind of mash best of breed on those 2 companies, and a lot of the things that you're going to see coming out of Hapbee over the next little while is a reflection of kind of best practices from companies like that.
I think one of the things is the onboarding, where people have to know exactly how do they use it. How long does it take before they get the thing? It doesn't work for
everyone. You look, we did not in our kind of the first out of the box attempt go particularly high touch. That's changing. I think there's a huge opportunity for us to get a lot more high touch.
Yeah, especially because you want to do that, because to get those recurring customers, you want to have those very tight relationships. Okay, so so we got one guy saying that Jeremy uses it every day, and again, we've had other people saying they use it. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Zachary's saying the only way we know if this can work if they can create an orgasm feeling and people actually experience that. That was one of the first questions I asked Scott.
Well, it's. I'll go there and I won't go there, but the ability to deliver stimulants to the body is definitely within the realm of possibility. I will tell you, having been in the direct-to-consumer business, that the number one category for Groupon, and it's not far from number one from Amazon, is the adult category. And it's definitely, it won't be the first thing that we do, but it's definitely on our radar screen.
Interesting. Wait, that's
So it's a joke, but it's not a joke. It's
No.
It's a big opportunity, and it's a big industry because there's a consumer need.
Right. So on Amazon, that's the number one category?
It's the number one. I know from a few years ago was the number one goods category on Groupon, and it's very high on Amazon as well.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because I mean, this is
Those are products that people don't typically want to buy in stores.
Right. So this is actually, this is perfect. Okay, so we got Andrew saying, okay, so was a master engineer. I guess Andrew, you can contact the company, get in touch.
Yeah, please. You can feel free to reach out to me. We'd love to talk to you.
Okay, and Michael saying, okay, this is one of the big things that has been talked about is the sleep, addressing the sleep market, which is a massive marketplace.
Yep.
The sleep technologies, you have all these mattress companies that are hot. And this is actually something which makes sense because this is a recurring revenue. It's not a one-shot deal.
At the top. I will tell you that it's at the top of our list, and it's well past the idea stage. We're in active development of some really exciting things on a standalone basis in sleep, and with some well-known partners in sleep. I'm just not at liberty to disclose who they are, but our objective is to deliver a fully integrated sleep solution, of which Hapbee is a key component. I think people are going to be really excited about that.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so Jeremy's saying, okay, stop taking CBD after you began using Hapbee. By the way, Yona, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, we had Andrew saying something. You have an email, or how do you want to share something?
Yeah, you can reach me. You just email me, Yona, Yona, at Hapbee, HAPBEE.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. Okay,
Yona at Hapbee.com, very easy. Okay, so question. Can you talk about the new signal? How is it different? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is okay. So you have a new signal you just announced. How is it different? What is the new signal? How does it? Yeah.
So okay. I'm not a chemist. And I'm not a scientist. I think you probably figured that out by now. But we have a lot of really cool scientists and engineers who are in the company. So the new signal that we dropped today is it's called Boost. The primary ingredient that we recorded, or the molecule, is something I never heard of up until maybe 3 weeks ago. It's called theobromine, or some people call it theobromine. That's my Canadian accent coming through here. But it's the primary ingredient in chocolate. So the boost that you might get from having your afternoon chocolate, not the sugar rush, but the boost, the alertness boost that you might get from that, is the primary ingredient. So it's different than what you might get from caffeine. So caffeine will awaken you. Nicotine will make you focused and alert. This will raise your energy level. So if you think about caffeine as something that awakens you, but this is really about boosting your energy level. Some folks use it as kind of like, you might think of it as a kind of a mood enhancer or performance enhancer. Like when you're feeling a little sluggish, but you don't want a coffee buzz. It's a really cool in between. I think a lot of these things are personal preference, and we really encourage people to experiment and find the blends and signals that work best for them. So
okay, how many shares outstanding, fully diluted right now?
I'm gonna have to. I don't want to quote a number that's incorrect, so I'll get back to you on that one.
30, so I mean, the market cap right now is, what is it, about 20? I don't know, 25, 30 million at most.
Whatever the number is, we're at the beginning.
Right at the bottom. So this is essentially you're getting into this company at this price. At this price, it's basically like the valuation is cheaper than it would be, you know, like at the VC, like, you know, or a seed stage level.
Yeah, this was. I mean, if this was like I've spent the past 20 odd years doing venture backed tech companies.
It would be 100 million, right?
There's no way we would do a deal at what this company's trading at. I've no chance. So I would say this is a bargain at this particular price.
Yeah. Okay. So you get. I mean, this. So I mean, I'm looking. You know, I think this is like a great like asymmetrical setup. You know, you're basically, you know, you're getting in at 30 million valuation. So basically, you're buying the company at 30 million. The upside is, you know, $1 billion plus with just, and the bar is so low. 50,000 users is like nothing. So, and if you can get there, you know, within the next year, I mean, it's like a 30x plus. And
I will tell you,
we've had stocks go from a nickel to 250. I mean,
in my career of trying to attract executives to an opportunity, this has been the easiest sell I've ever had. And it's the amazing thing is once I do the quick description of what the product does, almost invariably, the person that I'm talking to recounts to me a personal anecdote about how this would solve something in either their life or in a family member's life or someone who's close to them. And they're like, oh my God. And so people understand the power of what it is that we're solving for. And I think, to me, that's where my brain went on this. And if the barrier, as we spoke earlier, Jack, is execution, that's a relatively easy thing to solve for.
Okay. So let's talk about the future of the company. How long, I think I asked you, how long do you think it would take you to get to that 50,000? I mean, I don't want to like put you on the spot, but like,
I would say,
how fast can you get there?
My objective would be to get there by the end of next year. So by the end of 2022. And the only reason I say that is because I can't pinpoint when we're gonna light the fuse, because I don't want to do it before we're ready to scale. I think the worst thing that we could do to this company is launch a growth strategy prematurely and not be ready to handle the influx. And so we're getting ready for all of that. So whether that's October or November or December, I think that will be really the deciding factor on how long it takes. I think when we start.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned one of the things that you want to focus on is that kind of onboarding, where you might want to have, it might be a process where you may have more customer support available. So you've got to have that in place to really scale.
You got to build that, right? You got to build that. You got to train people. If we're going to provide, a white glove, high touch experience, then, our people have to be capable of doing that. And so that there's a lot of education and understanding that goes into that. So that's all the stuff that we're building.
Okay, but if you can get, again, if you can get to that 50,000 or even close to by December of next year, which is what is it, with 18 months,
right?
I think that's enough. That's that perfect.
And the great thing, Jack, is this is a Cartesian business. This is a data-driven business. Every business I've ever driven is driven off of data. We'll understand those trend lines long before they occur, and we'll be able to pinpoint when we get there with great granularity as we kind of go through the process of scaling, because it's really just a factor of how many channels are you going to deploy, at what cost of acquisition, and what's the payback. I don't want to sound too overly simplistic. But at the end of the day, it's a math equation. If you've got the product and the positioning is right and you have the infrastructure, the marketing really is just a math equation.
And you're only talking about this product. You're not even talking about the licensing potential.
I'm not talking about licensing. I'm not talking about line extensions into sleep. I'm not talking about any of
the base product. We're just talking about the base. That's
upside, right? Just
Okay. So this is like, I mean, it's incredible. This is probably one of the biggest, when I first heard this, I was like, Scott, this is the holy grail. This is one of these mythological stocks that people talk about, the concept, which is like, I remember when I first started on Wall Street, they said, okay, the perfect stock is something that, it tastes good. It cures, it tastes like chocolate, it cures cancer and whatever. And basically this is essentially addresses the market for this is every human being on the planet, because everybody is looking for a state.
I mean, it's massively disruptive, but it's also complementary, right? And so that's what excited me. And that's, as I said, that's what excited a lot of people that are now onboarding as part of the new team.
Yeah. Okay. So we talk about a year out. So, a year and a half out, roughly, you can get to the 50,000. What's your vision for Hapbee? What do you see potential? Let's say 3 years out, 2 years out. I know most of our audience is looking for, 2 weeks out is for them an eternity, but 3 years out, what is this company going to look like, assuming everything?
I'd like to see Hapbee built in to many consumer products that we're already enjoying. So, I recently spent 4 years in urban mobility. So I'll give you an example from mobility. You're in your car and it's late at night, or you're on an extended road trip, and you're falling asleep at the wheel because you're just exhausted, or your mind is starting to wander. Wouldn't it be interesting if we talk about, remember that we talked about that wonderful bio feedback loop? If there's a sensor that knows based on your driving that what you're doing is related to drowsiness or sleepy, imagine if there was a sensor that then triggered a coil that was in the seat that gave you a jolt of caffeine and that woke you up. We're talking about transcending moods. We're talking about safety, right? Imagine if that was built into the seat back of your first class or your economy class seat when you went across.
Forget about the Mercedes. We're talking about trucks. The
right.
the big rig.
So that to me is where my brain goes. Oculus Rift, or you decide to get on Space Mountain and you want an enhanced ride. You think about they create soundtracks for movies. What about a mood track for a movie? I mean, when we sat down, it was literally my third day on the job, and I sat down with the team and we called a white hat session where we just ideated about what, if there were no constraints, and we could do anything we wanted, where could we take this product? And I think that to me is that when Hapbee starts to transcend a physical device and gets built in as a kind of as a functionality into headsets and eyeglasses and beds when they're being made, or bed toppers that are being sold at retail or in aftermarket, or into your vehicle or into the seat back of your chair. That to me is ultimately where this company goes. And we become some combination of an endless library of signal blends and routines, planned daily routines, and then also building our license delivery system into third-party product. That's where we're going to take. I'm not going to say that's where we want to go. That's where we're going to go.
That's the future, basically. That is the whole, okay.
Yeah.
So basically, you will have like a whole team of business development guys, making licensing to across all these different verticals. I mean,
Jack, the really amazing thing is we're getting those inbounds today, and you pointed out we're a 30-cent stock, and
this is where everybody's going.
Inbounds today, and who knows about us? Nobody.
Yeah, I mean, one of the use cases you just mentioned with the driving thing. Forget about just the regular luxury cars. I mean, commercial, trucks. I mean, that's a huge issue for them. Sleeping, make sure the drivers have enough sleep. They do like logs, like every few hours they have to log how much.
Drivers, delivery vans, Sleep, I don't have the data on me, but I know it's a prevalent reason for safety concerns and accidents. I don't know what percentages, but I know it's high.
It's a huge issue. I mean, that's why these guys have these logs they got to do.
That's right.
Question here from Mark saying, for legacy customers with first gen devices with a lifetime Signal subscription, will they be offered a trade-in for future devices?
Mark, you should join if you're not currently otherwise employed. You should join our marketing team. Yes, 100%. We're definitely thinking about that as we move down future generations. Our objective, we see this as a gateway, and our objective as a company will be to allow all of our customers and all of our users to continue to use it in perpetuity. So the lower,
I mean, this is the razor. You're making money from the razor blades. The subscription is
to me, this is a gateway, and I want to lower. If I could give these, I can't, but if I could give these away for free, I would.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I think we've covered most questions. Okay, we talked about the upside for the company. Let's talk about. Okay, so I think one point I want to mention is once you're able to put out numbers, some metrics that investors can kind of model, because you talked about what is it, the Cartesian? I never heard the Cartesian thing. So I think once, like, let's say institutional investors, they see, okay, wow, these guys hit 10,000 subscribers or even 5,000 subscribers. Yeah. Then they can start modeling, then they can model out, they can extrapolate, okay, and that's when things are going to get exciting.
So we're doing that work now. Yeah, we're doing that work now on a relatively small, I would call it a test budget across a variety of different growth channels. And so we're compiling that data right now, and we continue to iterate that equation, and we'll release the hounds when we get to a point where we feel that that's replicable and that it's also scalable. I would tell you, like, the numbers we're looking at right now would support an expansion, would get us to the numbers we want to get to. We just have a little bit more homework to do on the infrastructure side to make sure that we can withstand all of that. A parallel in my previous life is, we were the exclusive provider of digital mobility services to Ticketmaster, Live Nation. And you don't just show up at Ticketmaster and say, hey, I've got a great add-on product for you. When they release, tickets to U2, when they drop the Taylor Swift concert, they're getting tens of millions of concurrent hits to a website. And if you're providing an API feed into that, you can't slow them down. You can't be the reason they couldn't sell a Taylor Swift ticket in Cleveland. So you've got to be ready for prime time if you want to work with industry leaders. And as we've discussed, our objective as a company is to be partners with all of the leading tech players that have an interest in health and wellness. We believe we have the solution. We just need to make sure that our systems can scale so that if you're looking at your health on your Apple Watch, that we're there in the fraction of a millisecond that we need to be there. So it goes beyond being able to provision. You got to be able to provision at massive scale. And so that's what we're building.
Okay. But when do you think you can have that, you can start putting out those kind of numbers so that investors could?
I would say later this year.
Later this year. Okay.
Yeah.
So by December sometime, we think?
I think that's reasonable.
Okay. So that's basically the point to watch. I guess the idea is people want to get in now before that data is out, because then
we'll be sharing on a relatively consistent basis some pretty exciting announcements. And for people who kind of get the story and understand what we're building, they'll be able to connect the dots and say, oh, this is real. All of the things that they've been talking about are actually happening. And when they kind of coalesce into reportable numbers, we're going to see the evidence. But I think you're right. I think the future is sooner rather than later. It's imminent.
Okay. On that note, Yona, I want to thank you, and we look forward to the next exciting update, hopefully very soon.
Thank you, my friend. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for the great questions. We'll see you in the next live.